بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على نبينا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. ما بعد، فهذه ليلة الجمعة، ليلة عظيمة مباركة يسن فيها الإكثار من الصلاة على سيدي مولاي رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه من كل عمل صالح. The night of Jumu'ah is a blessed night. There's a lot of barakah in this night. Increase your salah upon the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام and all good deeds. يروي الإمام البخاري في صحيحه عن ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما قال. The hadith tonight collection Imam Bukhari narrated to us by Ibn Abbas, and the topic is still issues of marriage. And this is a really, I want to say it's a comical hadith, but it's just frankly quite funny. And there's a piece in it that I think is really worth reflection and thought that I think we can all benefit from. And this is what Ibn Abbas said. And he was a kid, by the way, when he was around the Prophet ﷺ. So mind you, what he narrates is very pure, like it's kind of unfiltered, it's uncensored. So whatever he saw, because kids don't really know how to do that, how to read social cues well. So it's just whatever he remembers seeing. قال كان عن ابن عباس أن زوج بريرة كان عبد يقال له مغيث. There was a lady in Medina, her name was Barira, and her husband was a man who was a slave, and his name was Mughith. And at some point, خلعته. This is not said in the hadith, but this is known. This is why the hadith is the whole story. خلعته meaning khula' is when a lady wants to divorce herself from her husband, and there's a process for that, and she can get it done through the Islamic judge or through the wedding. She can get it done with certain conditions. فخلعته, she got rid of him. يقول ابن عباس كأني أنظر إليه يطوف خلفها يبكي ودموعه تسيل على خده. I can almost see him as he ran after her within Medina, calling upon her, crying with tears running down his lihya, or تسيل على لحيته, على لحيته في الحديث مش على خده, على لحيته, begging her to take him back. يقول فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أجمعين لعباس. So Ibn Abbas is hearing the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام speak to his father. قال يا عباس ألا تعجب من حب مغيث بريرة وبغض بريرة مغيثة. Is it not fascinating how much Mughith loves Barira and how much Barira hates Mughith? She just does not want to see him, and he's فقال عليه الصلاة والسلام ألا تراجعينه. Why don't you take him back? He sees Barira walking, he says يا بريرة ألا تراجعينه. Why don't you take him back? فقالت أتأمرني يا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Is this a command? فقال لا إنما أنا أشفع. He said, no, I'm just, interceding on his behalf. فقالت لا حاجة لي فيه. I don't need him. And she didn't take him back. رضي الله عنها. But she asked him, أتأمرني? Are you commanding me, يا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم? Because if it's that, then of course I'll take him back. No questions asked. No questions asked. But since if it isn't a command, it's just, you feel bad for Mughith. I don't need Mughith anymore. خلاص أنا شبعت من Mughith and everything, him and his family. I don't want him anymore. And she never took him back. And the interesting piece was how normal this was. That's really the piece. Is how this was not a big deal. It was very normal. It was normal. For subhanAllah, I feel that our ancestors back then, they knew how to live more than we do today. Like they knew how to live, and they knew how to enjoy life, and they knew how to love, and they knew how to hold on to love, and to get rid of love, and their hearts were broken, and they would get married, and they would divorce, and get married again, and they lived better. They just live better than we do. I don't think we know how to love or live anymore. Like I honestly think that throughout history, so much has occurred that we're stuck now in this, this post-Victorian English era of understanding marriage and life as Muslims that does not reflect how the Prophet ﷺ and how the Sahaba lived. Like this, it's not the same understanding of life. And it was the Prophet ﷺ, for a man to walk behind crying because she divorced him, begging her to take him back, and she's saying no. This is ألا تعجب, isn't it interesting? Look how much he loves her. Look how much she hates him, and she never took him back. And he had to go find someone else to get married, and she married again. I find that there's that we are much more today. This is the thing. This is what I we are so self-conscious. How do you put this? Our egos are so bruised, and we're so insecure that it's hard to accept any form of rejection and continue to live, for men and for women. Now, I can understand it a little bit more for women. I can understand there's in certain situations, but for men, I see men who are they can't take rejection. They're rejected once or twice, it's a big deal. I feel like, ya miskeen, what life has in store for you. Life has in store for you. It's just ongoing rejections. I have a folder in my inbox with 6,622 emails of rejections from medical schools when I was attending for residency. I just hold on to it every once in a while just to look at it, and then make dua for Dr. Salim for taking me at the end. I just stare at it. 6,000 rejection is a part of life, especially as a young man. You have to be okay with rejection. It doesn't mean that you have no self-respect or dignity. Doesn't mean that you've cheapened yourself so you go and do anything, but that you're at least willing to live life, and you're willing to express yourself, and you're willing to have an emotion and deal with the pain of maybe not working out and then having it again. And this is living life. When you're too conservative with your emotions and your thoughts, you don't end up living. Maybe you're protected from some certain types of pain, but you don't live. You're not alive anymore if you don't have that ability to express yourself. It goes for both genders really. But there's a little bit of a difference in how they lived and how we do. And I'm going to establish that for you throughout maybe the series after this. I'm going to show you a little bit of how they were in terms of how they saw themselves within others and how they approached each other and how they lived. And it's just not the same. We're much more, I'm going to say the word conservative is not the word I'm looking for, but they're much more reserved. Much more reserved in every form of in every way. So because we're so much reserved, we don't live as well as they did. Like we don't, for you to protect yourself, so the range of your emotions is this, just because you don't want to be hurt. Versus if you open it up and now the risk of getting hurt is bigger, but also the risk of living and loving is bigger too. And that's how you're supposed to live. So we've reserved ourselves, so it's like this. So I'm not going to get hurt, but you're not going to live either. You're not going to know what love means. And because we don't know that, when I talk about the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, people look at me like I'm speaking in a different language. Like I'm saying words that don't, just words. There's no reality, because how do you explain to someone to love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if they don't know, if they haven't really experienced true actual love and allowed themselves to love and be rejected and love again and be rejected, and it's okay. You're supposed to, the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, he wore his heart on his sleeve alayhi salatu wasalam. You watch him, follow him throughout his life. He wasn't reserved. If he loved someone, he said it. If he felt sad, he cried. If he felt happy, he made it clear. It was clear. You could see it on his face, alayhi salatu wasalam. Of course he was hurt many times. And that's a part of being alive. And I feel like that piece is missing in our community now. And in general in the world, it's missing. There's too much fear of rejection and being hurt. And that's life. You're only here for a couple of decades. Live, love, and feel it all. And process the emotion of being happy and being very sad and being close to someone and then not having that anymore, and be okay with it, because that's life. It's not infinite. It doesn't go on forever. Now, pain is only problematic if it goes on forever, if it never stops, and all pain ends, no matter how long it goes on for. It ends. Even what happens to people, even with that's what's happening to our brothers and sisters in Gaza. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for them. And I feel embarrassed talking about stuff as they go through what they go through. But even that pain will end. Every pain. The only pain that doesn't end is the pain of Jahannam, wal-'iyadhu billah. That's the only pain that never ends. Every other pain, it ends. So learn something to think about. يروي الإمام البخاري في صحيحه عن ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما قال أن زوج بريرة كان عبدا يقال له مغيث كأني أنظر إليه يطوف خلفها يبكي ودموعه تسيل على لحيته فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يا عباس ألا تعجب من حبي مغيث بريرة وبغضي بريرة مغيثا فقال عليه الصلاة والسلام يا بريرة ألا تراجعينه فقالت أتأمرني يا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال إنما أنا أشفع فقالت لا حاجة لي فيه صدق رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم سبحانك وبحمدك لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد